Absolutely.
But they have a problem with Shedeur. I don't know how Shedeur wins. If he says something, he shouldn't have said anything. If he doesn't say anything, he should have said something. Until he gets on the field and somebody can say either, see, I told you he could play, or I told you he couldn't play, it's going to be something, Ocho. That's just the nature of what it is.
Absolutely. You know, it's totally unfortunate too, because if it was any fifth-round pick, he wouldn't be talked about like this.
No.
Because this would come with that last name.
Yeah, absolutely.
This would come with the aura of being a Sanders. It is what it is. Obviously, I feel the Browns and the organization, Stefanski, obviously the owner himself came out and said, this wasn't my pick. This is not who I wanted. So the odds are stacked against him. The card that he dealt, he's going to have to do his best job in playing the hand that he has. When that opportunity comes, if it does come, you got to come out. You got to be prepared. You got to be prepared. And when you get it, you got to shut that door behind you.
I get it. Look, people say, well, Jameis proved himself. What?
The Cleveland Browns have made their decision, and it's one that has sent shockwaves not just through Cleveland, but across the NFL landscape. Dillon Gabriel, the rookie quarterback, the third-round pick, has officially been named the starter heading into London against the Minnesota Vikings. And while Gabriel's name gets called, while his career is about to step into the brightest spotlight of his young life, there sits Shedeur Sanders, silent, waiting, watching, buried at QB3, a position that doesn't just sting, but feels like an intentional statement. And let me ask you, NFL fans, what would you have done in that situation? Would you have spoken your mind, risked being painted as cocky? Or would you have sat in silence, knowing the world would twist that too? That's the trap Shedeur faces every single day, and it's a trap no other third-string rookie is dealing with. Because let's be real, on 31 other teams in the NFL, nobody is rushing up to the third-string quarterback at a press conference demanding quotes. Nobody is pointing cameras in his face, asking questions he can't win by answering. But Shedeur? The second he opens his mouth, it's twisted. The second he stays quiet, it's criticized. This is not just football anymore. This is the weight of legacy. This is the price of being a Sanders. They're not just testing Shedeur's arm. They're testing his name, his patience, his very identity. And the entire league is watching to see if he cracks. Shannon Sharpe said it best. Anything Shedeur says will be taken out of context, magnified, dissected, and weaponized against him. If he says nothing, they call it immaturity. If he says something, they call it arrogance. And here's the crazy part. None of this would be happening if his last name wasn't Sanders. If Shedeur was a fifth-round pick with no legacy, this story would be a blip on the radar. Gabriel starts, Flacco backs up, third string stays third string, end of story. But this isn't just any rookie. This is the son of Deion Sanders, and with that comes expectations, resentment, and a microscope the size of a stadium. And what makes it even more frustrating is the Browns organization itself. Reports have floated that ownership didn't even want Shedeur. The owner himself apparently said, "This wasn't my pick." Imagine hearing that. Imagine walking into a locker room, knowing the man at the very top never wanted you there. You think that doesn't affect opportunities? You think that doesn't shape the narrative of how quickly they bury him behind Gabriel and Flacco? That's politics. That's not football. So let me ask you, if the owner didn't want him, was Shedeur ever really going to get a fair shot in Cleveland? Or is this QB3 designation just confirmation of a decision that was made before he ever stepped on the practice field? And let's not act like Joe Flacco is some long-term savior. Shannon and Ocho broke it down. Flacco hasn't been the answer since 2012. Since that magical Super Bowl run with the Ravens, he's bounced from Cleveland to Indy to the Jets, and now back to Cleveland like a man clinging to the last seat at the table. He wasn't the answer then, he isn't the answer now. The fact that Shedeur is still sitting behind him is mind-blowing. But let's focus on Gabriel for a second, because this is where the league and the media spin things. Gabriel is praised as the dual threat, the efficient preseason arm, the exciting new rookie who can extend plays. That's the narrative. But when it's Shedeur, suddenly the story becomes, he's not mobile enough. He's too polished. He's too calculated. Do you see the double standard? Do you see how narratives are written to shape who gets opportunities and who doesn't? Chad Johnson hit the nail on the head. This isn't preseason anymore. Defenses in the NFL are wolves waiting for blood. And Gabriel, while talented, has never seen the pressure that comes with real Sunday football. Can he handle it? Maybe. But if he struggles, the Browns will have a decision to make, and here's where things get controversial. Do they go back to Flacco, the aging veteran, or do they finally give Shedeur his shot? If you listen to Shannon and Ocho, they believe the Browns will turn back to Flacco first. And only if Flacco fails again will Shedeur even sniff the field. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the tragedy of this entire situation. Shedeur Sanders doesn't just have to prove he belongs, he has to prove it twice. He has to prove it when he gets his shot, and then he has to slam that door shut so hard that nobody can ever question him again. Shannon Sharpe told the story of how his brothers reminded him, when your number is called, you better be ready. That's Shedeur's life right now. The NFL isn't lining up to give him fair opportunities. When the window opens, even for a second, he has to be prepared to knock it down and never let it close again.
The Cleveland Browns have announced that their third-round pick, Dillon Gabriel, will start Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings in London. When asked about Gabriel getting the starting job, it literally left Shedeur speechless. Ocho, let's take a listen to the sound.
Yeah, let me hear that thing.
Locally, anything to say?
What do you think you have to show to the coaches just to have them have that belief in you that you can be ready?
What can you say?
How much has Joe been important to both you and Dillon in terms of your guys' development to this point?
Ocho, do you like the way Shedeur handled this press conference?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because whatever he says, they're going to twist his word. If you say nothing, it's really, on any other team, there are 31 there are 31 other teams. Do any of those media members talk to the third string quarterback?
This isn't about waiting your turn. This is about survival. And in survival mode, when your shot comes, you don't just play, you take over. And let's not pretend the criticism is just about Shedeur the player. This is about Shedeur the Sanders. People still hold grudges against Dillon. The flamboyance, the charisma, the confidence that defined Prime's career, it rubbed people the wrong way. And now, all those ill feelings trickle down onto his son. It's unfair, but it's real. The second Shedeur steps out of line, or even when he doesn't, he's judged harsher than anyone else. Think about this, fans. How many rookies come into the league and struggle? How many quarterbacks get years to develop? Dozens. But will Shedeur be given that luxury? Or will the narrative crush him before he even takes his first real snap? Shannon Sharpe's words cut deep when he compared this to the military. When you walk into a structured environment, the first thing they do is try to break you down. The Browns, the media, the league, they're testing Shedeur. They're waiting to see if he folds, if he lashes out, if he breaks under the weight of it all. But if there's one thing we know about Shedeur Sanders, it's that he's been preparing for this moment his entire life. His composure in that press conference wasn't weakness, it was discipline. It was strategy. It was survival. Because the truth is this, people don't just want to see Shedeur succeed, they also want to see him fail. They want him on the field so they can either crown him or crucify him. That's the reality. And until that day comes, the noise isn't stopping. Every word will be twisted, every action magnified, every silence turned into a headline. So the question is this, what happens next? If Gabriel thrives, maybe Shedeur waits until next year. If Gabriel struggles and Flacco fails again, Shedeur might finally get his shot late in the season. But when that moment comes, he cannot afford to be average. He cannot afford to be just okay. He has to shut the door so hard that the critics, the doubters, and yes, even the Browns' ownership can't ignore him. Because fair or not, Shedeur Sanders isn't being graded on the same curve as everyone else. And here's the brutal truth. If Shedeur knew how this would play out, if he knew the politics, the owner's disdain, the depth chart burial, would he have gone back to Colorado for one more year? Shannon and Ocho believe he might have. Because there is no universe where Shedeur Sanders thought he'd fall to the 5th round of the draft. No way. Not with his talent, not with his production. That draft slide wasn't about skill, it was about narrative. It was about humbling a kid who came in with too much spotlight, too much confidence, too much of that Sanders aura. But here's where it gets inspiring. Shannon reminded us, when the league doesn't like you, they will find a way to humble you. They will bury you. They will wait for you to crack. But if you stay disciplined, if you stay locked in, if you prepare for the moment when it finally comes, you can flip the script. You can take all that doubt, all that resentment, all that hate, and turn it into fuel. And when Shedeur Sanders finally gets his shot, you better believe the world will be watching. So let me throw it back to you, the fans. Do you believe Shedeur will rise when his number is called? Or do you think the politics of the Browns will keep him locked away, regardless of how Gabriel or Flacco perform? Because make no mistake, this isn't just about Cleveland. This isn't just about a depth chart. This is about legacy. This is about a young man carrying the Sanders name, carrying the weight of expectation, carrying the resentment of those who want to see him fail, and refusing to fold. He is being tested in ways most rookies will never understand. And the only way he silences it is by stepping onto that field, ball in hand, and proving everyone wrong. So Browns fans, NFL fans, Shedeur fans, remember this moment. Remember the silence at the press conference. Remember the owner's words. Remember the way he was buried at QB3. Because when Shedeur Sanders finally steps onto that field, when he finally gets his shot, it won't just be another rookie debut. It will be a statement. It will be vindication. It will be the moment the noise finally ends, one way or the other. And until that day, Shedeur must do exactly what Shannon and Ocho said. Stay ready, block out the noise, and prepare for the door to crack open. Because when it does, he can't just walk through it. He has to slam it shut and never let them question him again. This story isn't over. In fact, it's just getting started. And something tells me, when Shedeur Sanders finally gets his chance, the NFL won't know what hit it. If you're rooting for Shedeur, if you're tired of the double standards, if you're ready to see him silence the critics, then hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Gridiron Insights. Because this channel will be here every step of the way as the Shedeur Sanders story continues to unfold. Like and subscribe for more NFL drama, controversy, and truth. This is Gridiron Insights, the ultimate NFL news channel, and the Shedeur Sanders saga is far from finished.